All right, so The Lever, which is David Sirota's outlet, has done some really great reporting here. Unfortunately, the reporting is on something that is absolutely infuriating. So Matthew Cunningham Cook says, Biden taps anti-Social Security ideologue to oversee the program. Biden nominated Andrew Biggs, a think tank denizen with a history of slamming Social Security, to oversee government retirement benefits for 66 million Americans. So look, this story is exactly like the last story they released that we covered, which is they're hiking the Medicare premiums. So again, this is supposed to be the Democratic president, supposed to be the one who's in favor of universal benefits and entitlements, and at the very least will protect those programs. If not, the real position should be expand these programs. Biden's not doing any of that. Biden's hiking the Medicare premiums and funneling that money right back to his buddies in the health insurance companies, his donors in the health insurance companies. And now we see he's putting an anti-Social Security ideologue to oversee Social Security. Well, gee, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if they're going to now work to cut it in stealth ways or even go further and effectively privatize it. All right, let's look at the specifics here. Last month, President Joe Biden nominated a longtime advocate of Social Security privatization and benefit cuts to a key board overseeing the Social Security system. The move comes as Republicans get ready to push cuts to Social Security and Medicare if they end up winning control of Congress during the November midterms, as expected. Yeah, that's almost certainly going to happen. So it sounds like we're screwed here, guys. The development suggests that there could soon be a coordinated push in Washington to cut the Social Security program, which provides retirement, disability, and survivor benefits to 66 million Americans. On May 13th, Biden chose to nominate Andrew Biggs, a fellow at the right-wing American Enterprise Institute think tank, for a Republican seat on the Bipartisan Social Security Advisory Board, which was created in 1994 to consult the president and Congress about the Social Security system. For years, Biggs has been a vocal critic of expanded Social Security and workers' right to a secure, stable retirement free from the vagaries of the stock market. He has dismissed the retirement crisis as a non-issue and as recently as 2020 blamed problems with the Social Security system on, quote, older Americans' game of chicken. And 2 decades ago, Biggs worked on a Bush administration commission that pushed to privatize Social Security. This is the guy that Joe Biden chose. A guy who worked with George W. Bush in an official capacity to try to privatize Social Security. Now, thankfully, it failed under George W. Bush. It's one of the few pieces of his legislative agenda that he didn't get through. But now Biden is helping to make that come to fruition. No, see, you can't pick a guy like this and then turn around, as Biden did in the Democratic debates, for example, against Bernie Sanders, and argue like, oh, no, I'm the strongest advocate of Social Security and Medicare. You know, like that's really core to my politics. I really support those programs, and I would do anything to bolster those programs and defend those programs. You are actively undermining them right now. Which, you know, look, I look at that and I can't help but take away, so Biden's just a liar. He's just a liar. He'll say one thing and then behind the scenes act in the opposite way. And this is the classic thing people talk about, man. It's like, Republicans, they're a wolf in a wolf's clothing. But this is an instance of Biden being a wolf in a sheep's clothing. You know, he comes around and pretends like he's your friend, and then he nominates somebody who is literally exactly like somebody Donald Trump would appoint or George W. Bush did appoint. Unbelievable. In response to questions from The Lever, Biggs suggested he no longer favors privatizing Social Security. Oh, I'm sure, dog. I'm sure of it. I'm sure. Instead, he said he now believes that nation Social Security-like programs should be more focused on guaranteeing against poverty in old age, while middle and high-income individuals take on greater responsibility for saving for retirement on their own, such as by the government establishing universal retirement savings accounts for every worker. Establishing such savings accounts would be a solution in search of a problem. Social Security is incredibly successful at delivering retirement benefits and raising taxes on the wealthy that's called lifting the cap, would be a straightforward way to expand the program. Alternatively, creating retirement accounts invested in the stock market, which is what he wants, would involve a much more unwieldy and risky expansion of government programs and would be a huge boon to Wall Street. That's really why this guy supports that. That's really why he supports it, because it would be a boon to Wall Street. And also, it is so risky to put it in the market. I mean, when you look at the way the market is acting right now, does anybody really look at that as like, you know, you're going to get a solid rate of return in perpetuity? Of course you're not going to. It's gambling. It is gambling. And they want people to gamble with their retirement savings just so their Wall Street goon friends can get a cut. While the seat on the bipartisan board is by tradition assigned to a Republican, Biden could have chosen a moderate candidate or even leaned on precedent to avoid the nomination process altogether. Former President Donald Trump routinely refused to nominate Democrats for seats on boards and commissions. Furthermore, Biden could use the efforts of Senate Republicans to block speedy confirmation of many of his nominees as justification for holding the seat open, said Jeff Hauser, director at the Revolving Door Project. So Trump, for all these board seats where you're historically supposed to put a Democrat in and a Republican and make it bipartisan, Trump looked at that and said, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? I'm not going to put a Democrat in there. I'm not a Democrat. I don't agree with the Democrats. Why would I do that? I'm going to put a Republican, and I'll leave the Democratic seats empty. So Biden gets in there, and he goes, okay, I'm going to put a Republican in the Republican seat. Well, if one side is actually repping the causes that they're supposed to believe in, and the other one is not, who do you think is going to win in the long run? That's a real tough question, isn't it? If Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's caucus continues to slow march consensus presidential nominees in order to limit the filling of vacant judgeships, independent agency commissioner slots, U.S. attorney positions, and senior department officials, said Hauser, retaliation against an ardent opponent of Social Security would be both well-warranted and good politics. Okay. We don't need to go on here. You guys get the gist of it. But the bottom line is, look, this is another way in which Biden is undermining the causes that he pretends to believe in. I mean, for fuck's sake, when he ran for president, he talked about how we're going to do a public option. Now, I don't support a public option. I support Medicare for all. But would a public option be better than nothing? Yes. We have a healthcare crisis in this country. We have a pandemic where over 1 million people died. And Joe Biden went in there, and from day one on, public option? What public option? I'm not going to do a public option. Wait, but you ran on that. You said that that's what you were going to do. And then he gets in there, healthcare is nowhere to be found on the agenda. He has the ability to lower prescription drug prices on his own through executive order. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. Then Medicare premium hikes and picking somebody to oversee Social Security who is effectively against it and wants to privatize it and worked for George W. Bush on this issue? No. No, you can't. Look, it's infuriating, man. It's absolutely infuriating. And then these people have the nerve to turn around and berate you come election time because you're not a sufficiently loyal Democrat and you won't vote for them, or even if you do vote for them, you don't cheerlead and rah-rah as you do it. You have to make people want to vote for you. You have to earn the vote, and then you have to legislate and govern in a way that's good for the people. And if you don't, well, guess what? The chickens are going to come home to roost. And that's exactly what's happening now. Biden looks around and he wonders, well, what the fuck? Why is my approval rating lower than Trump's at this time in office? Joe, you're not doing anything, and when you do something, it's bad. And it's a Republican position or a Republican policy priority. It's my favorite fact. I keep coming back to it, and you're going to hear me say it 1 million more times. Joe Biden had his highest approval rating immediately after he cut people $1,400 checks. Then, would you look at that? When he sat on his ass and did nothing and let unemployment expire and let the child tax credit expire and did a Medicare premium hike and is picking anti-Social Security ideologue to oversee Social Security, well, what do you know? Your approval rating is at a historic low and only going lower. So, look, I hate to say it, but you earned it all, man. You earned it all, Joe. I don't want to hear complaining. I don't want to hear whining. Hold your L, dog. Hold your L. Because that number is only going to keep going down the more you do shit like this. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.